Hello and welcome to 3 Minute Skills. I'm doing a kind of a twofer project this time around. I'm making a new peg bag for my mum because her old one's a bit knackered, and I'm also going to show you how to do a bound buttonhole, also called encapsulated, but obviously as it's a peg bag it's going to be somewhat larger. Balance. So first things first, right sides together, I'm just going to sew around my marked hole here. If you're doing this as a buttonhole, bear in mind that the thickness of the fabric will affect how it works. So if you're doing a very thick fabric, you might want to take that extra bit off of the kind of width. The width of a buttonhole is the width of the button plus its thickness. And again, if you're doing this kind of thing with kind of a thick PVC or leather, you're going to need to add an extra millimetre or two. Always practice on a scrap bit before you start. So. Right, obviously buttonhole is going to be smaller, but it's the same process whatever you're using. So I've got white thread set up top and bottom, so doesn't really matter where you start in the slot. If you're doing buttonholes, somewhere in the middle normally goes best. So I'm doing about a 3mm stitch. I don't want it to be too wide at this point, so I'm just going to reverse stitch at the beginning. Just circle the hole here. Now I need to unpin all my pins. So just kind of holding the pieces together so they wouldn't get all wrapped up. And now for a regular buttonhole, you're going to need to be quite delicate about how you do this, but this is obviously a giant one. So just cut in and then cut up, and you need to stop about ½ inch from the end and then just come across the corners. Do that this way. Obviously with a regular buttonhole it's probably not going to have the width for this, but if you kind of attempt to get a corner in, it gives it a neater edge. So pull the lining fabrics through like that. And here you can kind of adjust it if you need to trim off a little bit more to get it really square. And from that angle you can't see. And here, if you want to press it, you can. I'm not going to. I'm just going to hold down the layers and just stick a pin every inch or so, just to set all these into place. Right, and now I'm going to go back to the machine and top stitch all the way around. So I'm using a slightly skewed stitch here, so I'm coming about 2mm down from the opening. Again, depending on what size your buttonhole is, you could do more or less. So that is one bound buttonhole, just a little bit big. So that's your end of your 3-minute skill, and I'm going to carry on and finish making my peg bag. So I've got my basic bag here. So now I've taken the old hanger out of the old one, and you can see where the wood has just cut through the edges of the old bag. So I've trimmed that round and given it a good sanding so there's no sharp edges left. So now I need to line up my space and my holes and find the hole for my hanger, which is here. Now you need to push it in, then up and through, and then tuck into the corner. And then just pull up firmly, and that will help to settle the corners nice and neat. There's a bit of a curve to this hanger which I didn't take into account when I was making the thing. That shouldn't be a problem in the long run. So, nice firm tug, and that's seated in place. There you go. One peg bag with a encapsulated or bound buttonhole opening. See you next week.